Okay, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining me today. My name is Steven Zaharchik with the Mahoney Group of Raymond James, and we're excited to have you here for a session that is truly has the power to reshape your financial future. Whether you're just beginning your financial journey or looking to elevate the success you've already built, today's topic will give you the clarity, habits, and mindset that financially successful people use every single day. For this webinar, we're going to explore 7 core habits. They're practical, repeatable behaviors that consistently show up among individuals who achieve long-term financial stability and wealth. They're not quick fix or get rich quick schemes. They're proven strategies grounded in discipline, intentionality, and smart decision making. So by the end of our time together, you'll walk away with a few things: a deeper understanding of what successful people do differently, some actionable habits you can begin implementing immediately after this, and lastly, a clearer roadmap for building and sustaining long-term financial health. So get comfortable, take some notes, and think about how each of these principles can fit into your own life. Let's jump in and uncover the 7 habits of financially successful people, and more importantly, how you can make them your own habits too. All right, so the first habit of financially successful people, I might stumble on that a lot, uh, is the foundation for every other habit we'll have to discuss here. It's the commitment to invest in yourself. So a little side from just the screen of what's on, financial success doesn't start with money, it starts with you. This includes continuous learning, improving high value skills, building strong relationships, and also taking care of your physical and mental well being. When you grow, your opportunities and your earning potential grow with you. Financially successful people know their greatest asset is themselves, as it creates the foundation for that long term success. Investing in yourself is the habit that makes every other financial decision easier, smarter, and more effective. According to this Georgetown University study, the level of education you achieve and the major you choose to pursue matters in the long run. So again, invest in yourself, but don't let you don't let your climb for knowledge turn into a debt nightmare. Financially successful people grow their skills and knowledge, but they do it wisely. They choose an education that increases their earning power without burying them in loans. Smart investing in yourself means building your value, not your debt. Possible ways to offset tuition include scholarships, pursuing paid internships, or seeking reimbursement to reduce that overall cost. In addition, you can try to calculate what your student loan may be, or whatever cost of the education may be, uh, using a repayment estimator, and then compare that with average salaries chosen within your field. Even for an average loan, as you can see here, of $37,000 can take about 18 years to pay off. So the bottom line is look before you leap into a pile of debt. Speaking of debt, habit 2 is to borrow responsibly. What does that mean? Only borrow what you can afford and only if you have to at the lowest interest rate available, right? That's the ideal case scenario. We've already discussed how to borrow for college or college or higher education in responsible ways, but the same cost analysis can be applied to borrowing for, say, a large purchase as a home, right? Most likely, or even a business. Bad debt is associated with higher interest rates. You can think of your car loans, consumer loans, or those credit card bills that are not fully paid off. Those high rates can really impede on your long-term success. It may put you behind in the long run. So fighting it at its source by trying to live within your means and by building and sticking to a budget can kind of combat that. Financially successful people protect their credit scores like an asset, right? So how much you may be paying or the interest rate, the cost, right, of borrowing may be dictated on your overall credit score. A strong credit score lowers borrowing costs, opens better financial opportunities, and also gives you flexibility when you need it most. Financially successful people pay bills on time. They keep their balances low, and they avoid taking on unnecessary debt. They review their credit reports regularly to catch mistakes before they become problems. A lot of credit card companies nowadays have that feature, whether it's a free version or a paid version, where you can kind of get those alerts to keep an eye on your credit score. They provide it to you as well. The good credit score isn't about perfection, right? You don't need the perfect score, but the higher you are, the better off you'll be. Overall, it's about consistency, responsible habits that build trust over time between you and the credit companies, right? Managing your credit score is one of the simplest ways to save thousands of dollars over a lifetime. Still, more than 100 million Americans have car loans, according to the Federal Reserve here. And if you don't want to pay $130 or more a month for a car in this example, pay attention to your score. Pay your bills and your debts on time and check your credit reports periodically for those errors. And I'll throw out one more there. If you don't need credit, you can actually freeze it. That's more of a protection for you. So something to consider as well. Habit number three, look, we really want your money to make we really want to make money work for you. So give it a specific job. Habit number three puts this into practice. Tracking your spending for a month to see where your money really goes. You can use a spreadsheet or a budgeting app that automatically aggregates your accounts. Then cut any phantom expenses like subscriptions you no longer need, and start putting that money towards something you really want, whether it's in the short term or the long term, right? Paying down those high interest debts or saving for that down payment on a house. Coincidentally, you can actually, I'll give you some homework is to go through your phone. If you have an iPhone, you can actually search up subscriptions and it should tell you what subscriptions you have. I know through actually some credit cards too, they'll show you what are reoccurring payments that are consistent. Take a look at those and look, every little bit helps here. So, if you're not watching Netflix, maybe you could give that up and save yourself $20 a month, right? Put that towards something else. Once you know exactly how much you need to live on, leaving a little wiggle room, you can automate where the rest of the money goes so you don't have to worry about it. And in just a moment here. So again, I mentioned that word budget, and I know, budgeting and keeping your expenses low doesn't sound fun, right? But this isn't about self-denial. Instead, it's about intentionally directing your money to things that you value and actively cutting on those things that you don't. So you have the money set aside for saving and investing. So don't think of this as keeping expenses low as a sacrifice. Think of it more so as a path to financial independence. We frequently use the term of saving for investing, a postponement of consumption, right? So you have the option to use the money today, right? Consume it today, or set it aside, hopefully let it grow for more of independence in the future and or larger consumption down the road. Habit number four is to start saving for retirement early, usually as an employer-sponsored plan, such as the 401ks. When you're young, you have a long investment horizon for your money to compound, and that's a good thing. You've got time on your side. In this example, we have each individual saving $12,000 a year. Even if you don't have $12,000 a year to invest, starting off small is good, right? But same concept here is the earlier you're able to get started, the more time that money has to compound. And really, early and often is the punchline here. Compounding, famously dubbed as the eighth wonder of the world by Albert Einstein, really has potential, right? Let the power of compounding work for you. Alyssa, she was fortunate enough to have 12,000 to set aside each year annually. Her total contributions were 540,000, but by the age 65, she'd had a whopping almost $2.2 million saved up. Whereas James, he started later in life at 50. He only contributed 180,000, but only earned 116,000 on top of that. So and excuse me, 2.7 for Alyssa at the final there. So for James to kind of catch up to Alyssa, he would have to put up $160,000 annually within the 15 years between his age and retirement to actually match where Alyssa would end up. So pretty powerful stuff there. Keep that in mind. Financially successful people make their 401ks a non-negotiable habit, right? Habits is the key word there. They contribute consistently, taking full advantage of the employer match and let time and compounding do the heavy lifting, right? We just spoke about that. The 401k isn't just a retirement account, it's a long-term wealth building engine with tax benefits that can boost your savings far more efficiently than, say, a regular investment account. Even small contributions made early can grow into something more meaningful. The key, again, start early, contribute often, and never leave that free employer match on the table. It's a free boost to your retirement savings. You don't want to miss out on that. The rule of thumb is to aim to save about 12 to 15% of your income for retirement. So if you're looking somewhat for a threshold of where do I start or how do I match up, 12 to 15% would be ideal. And I know that sounds like a lot, but the good news is that that number actually includes the employer match. So equate that into the calculation there and try to shoot for those numbers. Habit number 5 is perhaps the most powerful one because with every paycheck, you're making progress towards your goals without having to think about it, right? Automation, right? We live in this world, and we just mentioned earlier subscriptions, right? We're automatically paying for something. Well, how about automatically saving for something yourself, right? Setting up that one-time setup or setting up that automatic one-time direct deposit into retirement accounts or in an emergency fund can lead to a huge payoff. After all, you can't spend the money you don't see, right? Why an emergency fund? Well, life is full of surprises. When you've set aside money in advance, aiming for at least, say, 3 to 6 months worth of expenses, you can handle just about anything that comes your way, right? So that basically allows you not to be at the mercy of the markets or have to take from a retirement account and be penalized for doing so. Emergency funds are good to have and a must-have, really. One more thing I'll throw in a bonus: automatic bill payment can also be an effective tool that can save time and help you keep your credit scores high. So I know we mentioned that earlier. And again, just like I mentioned, compounding your wealth. This is more repetitive, but again, really pushing this forward here is over time, the money you set on cruise control for your retirement savings adds up. The power of consistency, as you can see from this chart, has a leg up on those who miss out just even on 2 months out of the year. Over time can kind of lead up to a big opportunity loss there. Habit number 6, making money in your sleep, also known as compound returns. Trading your time for money can get you far, but to go further, you must put that money to work by investing. Earning returns on that money you invested and earning returns on those returns, right? Compounding wealth. Excuse me. Over time, the balance in the account gains momentum and the snowball effect. Sorry, I just muted myself. Earning compound interest on your savings, nowhere near as powerful as earning compounded returns on your investment, as you can see the line chart here. And basically what I mean by that is the one who keeps their money under the mattress, their money stays the way it is, right? It's safe, secure, but well, maybe not so safe and secure, but it doesn't change in value. Over time, that can really impede in someone's financial independency later in life. The investment accounts or even the savings accounts, those can help you grow. Habit number 7 is taking the time to learn some of the basics of investing, as you are today. We'll review a few here, but I encourage you all to take a deeper dive into this. We'll start with asset allocation. In other words, your investment mix. Asset allocation is the driver of investing. It keeps your portfolio aligned with your goals, but most importantly, can limit how the ups and downs of the markets affect you and your financial plan. For example, when you're young and saving for retirement, you have more time to ride out market downturns, which is part of the investment experience, as uncomfortable as it may be. We view this as an opportunity, though. That could be obviously different for someone who's opposite of the situation, which is, someone who is about to retire and is dependent on their nest egg. They may not want as much as the downturns in the market and they be more conservative in nature. So diversifying your investment mix helps you spread out the risk and potentially minimizes losses when they do happen. Essentially, your asset allocation is the key to controlling your investment experience and the risk you're willing to take on. Within asset allocations are asset classes, a group of similar investment vehicles like stocks or bonds. A stock is simply a share of ownership in a publicly traded company. When the company makes money, shareholders profit as well. Bonds, on the other hand, are generally more stable than stocks and represents an IOU of sorts. You lend a corporation, government, or a municipality money and in the form of a bond, and they promise you a fixed rate of return for a certain period of time. So here's a quick comparison of stocks and bonds. The comparison here, of course, is core about the balance between risk and reward. Stocks work like this. A company does well, its stock price goes up, meaning the value of its shares increases. If a company performs poorly, well, the opposite is likely to happen. Share prices fall. Stocks can also pay dividends to shareholders. These are regular distributions that are tied to a company's performance, but not guaranteed. Bonds, on the other hand, are debt. You're lending money to that entity that issued the bond with the understanding that it will be repaid with interest. Bonds are great stabilizers in a portfolio, but not without risk, right? There's credit risk also, and there's also known risk as that the borrower won't pay you back in full. Excuse me. But the nature of the bond makes them more stable in general than stocks. So how do these kind of various asset classes come together to work for your advantage? Well, over time, most investors expect to receive higher returns for assuming higher risk. But as we discussed, it's a bad idea to put all your eggs in one basket. You manage risk by spreading it out across a variety of stocks, bonds, and other investments. This graph kind of depicts that straight line representation of average returns and risk for each asset class over a 30-year period. So rationally speaking, one would expect these results to continue over time, but not in a straight line year over year, right? So financially successful people organize their investments by time horizon. So their money is always working at the right level of risk. This is considered a bucketing strategy and creates clarity to protect your long-term plan from short-term surprises. So in the bottom left, you can kind of see the near-term bucket. It's anywhere from 0 to 3 years. This bucket typically holds money that you can't afford to lose because you'll need it soon, right? Think of that emergency savings or upcoming expenses that you need to pay. This bucket usually holds some sort of high yield savings, money market funds, short-term CDs, anything that's not going to take on a lot of risk, but you could get maybe something for it. The goal is really to be stable and liquid there, okay? When you go to the right now, the next bucket over is your intermediate bucket. If this is 3 to 10 years out, and this bucket balances growth with safety. It's designed for goals far enough away to make some risk, but not so far that you can't ride out major market downturns. Typical investments in this bucket are more tilted towards bonds, funds, or balanced portfolios, so a mixture of bonds and stocks, or conservative stock allocations, said simply. The goal here is to moderate the growth, but with controlled volatility. And then you go one more over. This is your long-term bucket, and think of this as 10 years out, right? One of the big ones for most is retirement, to and through retirement, really. This is where wealth is built, right? Because the time horizon is so long, you can take on more market risk per se, allowing compounding to do that heavy lifting again, right? Again, these investments typically hold more so diversified stocks, such as your index funds, ETFs, or more growth-oriented assets, maximizing that long-term growth. So why does this strategy work? Well, by dividing your money into buckets, you prevent short-term needs from forcing you to sell long-term investments at the wrong time, right? So ultimately, it will create confidence, balance, and more resilience for your financial plan. So to wrap it up here, and I'll kind of be straight to the point here, but here's some closing thoughts. Financial success doesn't happen by accident, it happens by habit, right? We talked about seven of them already. The strongest foundations are built one choice, one discipline, and one good habit at a time. You don't need to do all seven in one foul swoop. As you leave today, remember small actions repeated consistently create big results. Your habits determine your direction, and your direction determines your financial future. So think of climbing up that mountain to the top there. Start with one habit, master it, and then build on to the next. Your future self will thank you. So, with that, I'd like to thank you all again for joining me today. If you have any questions, I think we have the question box going. But in any case, if you do have some questions afterwards, feel free to reach out to us. Here's the contact info. We'll share this webinar slides with you too, so you'll have it. No need to jot it all down in one go here. But again, thank you all for joining, and I appreciate your time.